Okay, so we're going to be working on practice questions provided by the VDOE through TestNav. I don't have TestNav on my Chromebook, so I have to Google it. I have to Google TestNav, and then I have to select on Virginia. Virginia practice items. You don't sign in here. Click on Science, Biology, and the 2018 non-audio or audio. Doesn't really matter at this point. And then click on Start. Now, because of this, I will have to go away from TestNav to my own PowerPoint so I can be honest and say, no, I didn't pretend that this was my work. All right, so then click Start. But what I have uploaded for you, this is it. All right, here goes. So some of your questions on your SOL test, and there are 55 questions, 10 of them are field test questions, 45 of them are the ones that you'll be scored upon. I don't know the actual cut score, but typically it's in the past years, it's been 25 to 27 questions correct. So that's kind of, I think, a good thing to shoot for is anywhere between 25, 26, 27 correct questions. Okay, so with this one, this is a timeline of the development of plants. Now, on your TestNav, you'll be able to see the whole thing. Again, I have to do this on my own, so it looks a little differently. So the way that this works is that we're going to identify these 4 plants. So we're going to put them here on this timeline. So you've got these boxes A, B, C, D, E, or F. Not all of them will have a letter. So not all of them correspond to one of these plants. So we're going to take the information that we have and go based upon that. Okay, plant number 1, we know that it has woody stems and it produces seeds. So when you look at your, when you look at your information there on your screen, that really does kind of narrow it down for us. So on your timeline, find woody stem and then produces seeds. So you know the way that a timeline works, it means that this particular answer is going to have to either be box E or box F. We don't know which one yet, but this particular plant has stems and it has seeds. All right, so we'll come back to number 1. Number 2 says that it doesn't have vascular tissue, so it doesn't have xylem and phloem, and it's a dependent sporophyte. Now, we don't even have to know what a dependent sporophyte is. We just have to eyeball it here on this timeline. So it says that it doesn't have vascular tissue, but it is a dependent sporophyte. So that means that it's going to have to be either B or C. And when we look at it, there's a dependent sporophyte and there's an independent sporophyte. And this specifically states dependent sporophyte. So that means that number 2 has to be B. Number 3. It does photosynthesis and it has flowers that produce seeds. So if we look for flowers, we can see that that's at the very end of our timeline and there's only one box after flowers. So that means number 3 is F. Number 4 lacks vascular tissue and is an independent sporophyte. So now we're going back to the same place where we were for number 2. So it doesn't have vascular tissue, so we can't go past vascular tissue on our timeline, and it's an independent sporophyte. So there's only one box between those two, so that means that number 4 has to be C. So now we can go back to, and with confidence, we can say which one is number 1. So it has a woody stem and it has seeds. So, sorry, it has to be F. I mean, scratch that. It has to be E. Number 2 says write the answer in the provided space. Sorry. Give one of the codons, not give on of the codons. Give one of the codons for stop. Now, this is one of the 2 types of genetic code charts that we used. This one that looks like a wheel starts from the inside and works out. So we can see the location of 3 different stop codons. So there's one and there's one. So if I look at this first stop codon, there's actually 2. It could be UAA or UAG. And then the third option is UGA. So just to refresh our memory of what is going on, is we were looking at translation, the translating of the genetic material into protein. And what that involves, let me get this out of the way. Get out of the way. I dropped my mouse, so I have to use this. Okay. So what proteins are made of, they're made of amino acids. So how do you know which amino acids to link together? So all that information lies in the DNA. That information is rewritten or transcribed into RNA, specifically messenger RNA. And then that messenger RNA travels to the ribosomes, where it is then translated into the protein. So I've got 2 different illustrations here on the right showing translation. And the key figures here, the mRNA, the messenger RNA, with the 3 base codons, the transfer RNA with the 3 base anticodons, and on the other end is the amino acid. And all of this is taking place at the ribosome. And what we see being built here, it says a growing polypeptide chain. And really that's just referring to the growing protein chain, and the peptides are the bonds holding the amino acids together. And the picture at the bottom gives you a better view of the whole messenger RNA, the codon, the transfer RNA, the anticodon, and then on the other end, MET, methionine, is the start codon. Okay, so we're going to draw in the arrows for this very simple food chain. This is another question on your SOL, which would be drag and drop. The arrows may be used more than once. So you've got to think about this situation. Who's your producer? Because all of these start with a producer, and then who eats who. So the arrows point from the organism that is being consumed to the consumer. So the algae is going to be eaten by the zooplankton, so there should be an arrow pointing from the algae to the zooplankton. From the zooplankton to the minnows, from the minnow to the squid, and from the squid to the shark. So again, just to refresh our memories of what we're talking about. So we were looking at a very simple snapshot of who eats who in the ecosystem, and that's called the food chain. This food chain consisted of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different trophic levels. So trophic level means that you are either eating or being eaten. Gosh, this is so hateful. Now, Each of those individuals in a food chain, a food web, or a pyramid is called a trophic level. The first trophic level is always a producer, something that does photosynthesis. And then from there, each trophic level is called a consumer. So remember, we've got primary, secondary, tertiary, and then quaternary. And then there's something that we also talk about with this, the 10% rule. So only 10% of the energy is moved from one organism to the other when it is consumed.